Guys, Mr. Bowman here. Today's learning objective is in blue and we are learning to apply the angle or parallel line angle rules to solve problems. So the key thing is the parallel line angle rules, and in the previous video we learned about the three different types of parallel line or the relationship between the angles. Hopefully you recall them. But number one starts with C. We learned about co-interior angles. After that, number two, the second C one, we learnt about corresponding angles. So two C's. And then finally, the third one we looked at the alternate angles. And these relationships are going to be really, really important to solving kind of the problems that we got here with us. What we need to do is we need to understand a little bit more about each of these types. And co-interior angles, they're the ones that are in the same room. They look like a C. But co-interior angles, they sum to 180 degrees. So just like a triangle and just like a straight line, they need to add to 180 degrees. Corresponding angles, they are going to be equal to each other. So there's two angles you're looking at. Both of those angles need to be the exact same, just like vertically opposite angles. And finally, the alternate angles, they're equal as well, just like our corresponding angles that we mentioned before. So we've got four questions. I'll draw a squiggly line to separate those. We've got those four questions there, and what we need to do, the most important part of any question, is figuring out which of these three angle types are the angles I'm interested in. Once you know that, you can then apply the rules, either the 180 equal or equal, to then figure out what the missing angle is. Let's jump into question one. So we've got A and we've got 100. So they're the two angles we're interested in, the one we know and the one we don't know. And our job is to figure out which of these three angle types it is. And for me, the giveaway is this looks a bit like an F here. And hopefully you remember, but the ones that look like an F, that was actually the corresponding angles. And you can also, you got one inside the train track, one outside, and then they're both on the same side as well. So we know A and 100 are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are equal, as I've just circled there. So based on that, we can say that A is going to be equal to 100 degrees. And we must state some geometric reasoning, and that's because corresponding angles are equal. And that last bit is the new thing we're trying to emphasize. What is the number? So question number two, we're looking at B and 110 degrees. What is the angle relationship between those? And this one here, if we're looking at the letter approach, that looks a bit like a C. Or you could also think they're kind of in the same room of the parallel lines. And that's a giveaway of a co-interior angle. And we know these co-interior angles, they've got to add to 180 degrees. So just like a line or a triangle, we're going to start off with 180 degrees, which they should add up to. And we're going to take away the one that we know. So we're going to take away 110. So that's going to go, take away 110, that's going to be equal to 70 degrees. So we can conclude from that B equal to 70 degrees. And think of your reasoning. Why is this? And that's because co-interior angles, it's really important. I figured out that the co-interior, I definitely need to write them. Co-interior angles sum to 180 degrees. And the final one, or the final of the easy ones, I suppose, angle number three, we're looking at, well, what's the relationship between C and 60? And this one is, I think, really cool as well. Using the letter trick, that looks a bit like a Z. And the Z angles are the alternate angles. And I know that alternate angles are equal. They're the exact same. So we can say C is equal to 60 degrees. And that's because alternate angles are equal to each other. So they're equal. And we can use that property, that relationship, to find out C. The final question, question number four, we'll try to smash through it. When you've got multiple ones, so we can see we've got four angles here, just focus on two at a time. So I normally work alphabetically, so I'm going to go, well, what's the relationship between A and 80? And I can see a bit of a backwards F floating around there. So that's the giveaway that they're corresponding angles. So A is going to be equal to 80 degrees. And that's because corresponding angles are equal. So both of them 80 degrees. So we'll write that up over here, 80 degrees. I can actually see the same thing. If I go up to F, well, I can see F and the new 80 degrees. It's the exact same thing. They've got that F shape floating between them. So again, I know that B is going to be 80 degrees as well. And that's because corresponding angles are equal. So same reasoning. And to save your teacher some time, yes, you have to write your geometric reasoning for every question, even if they're the exact same. So let's write 80 degrees over that B now. And the final one is C. And there's actually a few different ways you can answer C. So C is an alternate angle to B. So they're alternate. They've got that Z shape, which gives that away. And alternate angles are equal. We've actually got the vertically opposite angles. So this isn't a parallel line rule. It's a rule from a previous lesson. But vertically opposite angles are also equal. So that also tells us it's going to be 80 degrees. So let's write C equals 80 degrees. And there's two reasoning for that. Alternate angles are equal. And vertically opposite angles are equal. Running out of room, but I'll fit it in, are equal. You don't need both of these reasonings. One of them would have sufficed, but multiple ways to do some geometry-related questions. So we went through the three angle types, and the really, really important part for these types of questions is before you jump into the numbers, figure out what angle relationship you have. Is it co-interior? Is it corresponding? Or is it alternate? So hopefully this helps. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Now let's get into heaps and heaps of practice.